So I want to show you the wireless capabilities of StarBridge and show some best wiring practices for the StarFire system. First of all, this is one of our battery packs. So our battery pack itself is power, because now that we're not connected directly to a controller, you have to provide power. You'll notice there's a coil of wire here, so best practice is to have 30 feet of wire from the power pack, and so we just coil it up before you attach to your first item. If you don't have at least a minimal length of wire, and we recommend 30 feet, what can happen is when everything powers up, it can draw too much current initially, and the short circuit protection will activate and prevent any of the equipment from turning on. The power pack itself, you can charge it with an AC cord. You can use an external charger. There's also a little chart in here that shows you how long can you run with how many modules. So if you have a 12 modules, you can run for 480 minutes. If you run 24 modules, 160 minutes. If you put 36 modules on, you can run 80 minutes without any kind of external power. If you use external power, 24 modules or less, you can run forever because your external power will provide enough energy that it's not using the battery. If you actually run 36 modules, you have 7.5 hours of time, but eventually it will use more power than the charger provides, and it will actually run the battery down. What we do is we run the wire out the front of the case, just close the lid, again gently, and to not pinch the wire, but that way, again, the inside stays nice and clean, even though there might be a little bit of fireworks fallout on the outside of the case. So you go 30 feet of wire, you go up to your radio. You'll notice here we use a pallet, kind of repurpose it during the show, along with the furring strip. We put the radio up off the ground a little bit because this vastly improves the signal strength just by getting it a few feet up off the ground. So this is a 900 megahertz radio. So it really has the ability to go a long way and go through a lot of things and even go up and over curves. But you know, still you want to do everything you can to make sure your radio has the strongest possible connection, just to, you know, if there's interference or things like that, it can help. You know, we're going to be over 1,000 feet away, but realistically with the radio up here, we could probably be 2 or 3 miles away, much further than you should be trying to control your show, because at that point you're so far away you can't see what's going on with your show. The wire then goes down and it goes over to our first module here. We use our end boards to cover it up because we don't like to clean equipment, so we make sure we don't get it dirty. But here's our module, and we run the wire in from the radio, and you'll see the wire branches out. So we've got a wire going to our next module, and then we've got a wire over here going to another module. So we're feeding the middle of a group of modules. So we'll follow this wire over. We had enough end boards that we actually covered the wire to protect it, so that even though this grass isn't real dry, if the grass caught on fire, it's not going to burn up the cable. We have a module, again, hidden under here. And we'll follow the wire the other way. Again, covering our modules so they stay clean, but if we uncover this module, we feed this module, and then we go down to another prox position down there and feed another module. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 modules that are being fed off this particular power pack. So in this case, we again start at the power pack. We have our coil of wire. We come up, we feed our radio, that again is up in the air. And then what we do is we have wires coming to the radio going in different directions. So in this case, we have 4 modules up front, then 3 modules in the middle, and 3 modules in the back. So a total of 10 modules. You could daisy chain module to module to module to module, but what we find is we find fewer connections from the radio out to the modules. The communication is just better. This is a very minimal amount of modules. It would be hard to wire 10 modules wrong. but when we have very large shows, 25, 30, 35 modules to a radio, it becomes more important to run multiple trunks back to the radio. It works better, provides more current, because if you think of the power coming out of the power pack, coming up to the radio, now we have 3 ways for it to split. That means each one of these wires going to modules is only carrying 1/3 of the current. Well, that means that it's going to have less loss when it goes out to the modules. If you had one wire going from the radio and going to the first set of modules, then to the second, then the third, that one wire would have to carry 100% of the power to power all the modules. So by splitting it up, each wire carries less power for the modules. They get a better voltage. It actually makes the battery packs last longer because each wire is not using as much power. The resistance is less by using shorter wires, and you're not trying to feed as much current through it. So again, we do it in a topology where we go from the power pack to the radio, then out to modules, and we try to feed the center of groups of modules, and we try to create lots of branches. So we're going to show you the branches here. If we come up to this front position, again, as we talked about earlier, we put all of the modules very close together so it's easy to cover with one board. But you'll see even in this case, we feed one module. Instead of going module to module to module, we branch there, and we branch and feed the other modules all from the initial module. That means that this module only has one connection and then goes back to the radio. If you daisy chained it, it would have one connection, 2 connections, 3 connections, and it just means there's more places where a connection could be pulled apart or go bad. It also means that the more connections just is more resistance in each of the connections. So we have a wire from the radio to the first module that then branches to the others. And this just has, in our experience, provided a highly, highly reliable communications with no errors. And then of course the same thing here. We feed into one module, this module goes to the next one, and then this module also goes to the third module in this group. If we had multiple positions in the front, so let's say we had, 4 positions, 5 positions of racks that each had 3 modules, we'd want to feed into this module, and then that module would go, and the wire would go to the next set, and then each set would have the same module have in and out, and then also feed the other modules next to it. These are a couple of the tips that we have learned in wiring that has led to 100% reliability on our equipment, 100% of our E-matches fire. A lot of tricks of the trade can make sure that all of your shows shoot perfectly. You put all this work, all this effort into it, you should get credit for it, and the only way to really get credit for it is to put all the fireworks in the air. And so generally speaking, most of our shows we have 100% ignition on E-match. The occasions that we don't, it's usually because a wire gets broken from adjacent firework. We shoot a lot of great shows, have a great time, and make it easy setup, make it easy teardowns, and make it so that there's no fireworks left over at the end of the night.